What if I told you there is an organization that is over 900 years old, has its own passport, its own diplomats, and even its own international recognition? Yet most people barely know it exists. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not fiction. This is real history. They are known as the Knights of Malta, and their story is one of faith, war, secrecy, power, and survival across centuries. The Knights of Malta were originally called the Knights Hospitaller, founded around the year 1099 during the time of the Crusades. But unlike many other orders of that era, they did not begin as warriors. They began as healers. Their first mission was to build hospitals in Jerusalem for pilgrims who were sick, injured, or abandoned. At a time when medical care was rare and survival was uncertain, the Knights offered something revolutionary: organized compassion. They treated rich and poor alike. They cared for people regardless of background. Their reputation quickly spread across Europe, but the world around them was violent and unstable. Pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land were often attacked by bandits. Cities were under constant threat, and soon the Knights realized that compassion alone was not enough. To protect the innocent, they would also have to become defenders, so the order transformed. The Knights Hospitaller became trained soldiers, bound by strict codes of discipline, loyalty, and faith. They took vows of poverty, obedience, and service, but they also trained with weapons, armor, and battlefield strategy. They were no longer just caregivers, they became warrior monks. As centuries passed, their influence grew. They moved from Jerusalem to Rhodes and eventually to the island of Malta, which became their stronghold. From there, they controlled key trade routes across the Mediterranean. They built massive fortresses. They commanded fleets of ships. Their presence shaped politics, warfare, and power across Europe. One of their most legendary moments came in 1565 during the Great Siege of Malta. A massive invading force, one of the most powerful armies of the era, surrounded the island. The Knights were outnumbered, exhausted, and isolated. Many believed they would fall within days, but they did not. They resisted for months. They fought with discipline. They refused to surrender. Against impossible odds, they survived. That victory turned them into legends. But the true strength of the Knights of Malta was never only in battle. It was in their structure, their discipline, and their network. Even when empires collapsed, even when monarchies fell, even when wars reshaped the world, the Knights of Malta endured. Here is where the story becomes even more fascinating. The Knights of Malta still exist today. Officially known as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, they maintain diplomatic relations with over 100 countries. They hold observer status at the United Nations. They issue their own passports. They have embassies. They operate internationally. Yet they are not a country. They are not an empire. They are something unique in world history. Today, their mission has returned to its original roots: humanitarian aid, medical care, disaster relief, and protection of vulnerable communities. They run hospitals. They manage refugee programs. They respond to natural disasters. They deliver aid in war zones. From conflict regions to areas affected by famine and disease, their presence continues quietly, without headlines, without publicity. That quiet influence is what makes them so mysterious. Some view them as a noble humanitarian force. Others believe they represent hidden power networks operating behind the scenes of global politics. Their long history, elite membership, and diplomatic reach have fueled endless speculation. But one fact remains undeniable. Very few organizations in human history have survived this long while maintaining global relevance. Deeper meaning, why they matter. The story of the Knights of Malta is not just about history. It is about identity, purpose, transformation. They began as healers, they became warriors, they became diplomats, they became humanitarian guardians. They adapted to every era without losing their core mission, service. In a world constantly divided by power struggles, their survival shows something rare: an institution shaped by continuity, discipline, and long-term vision. Whether seen as guardians of tradition, symbols of resilience, or quiet players in global affairs, their existence forces us to ask deeper questions. How does power truly operate? Who shapes history from behind the scenes? Which organizations endure while empires collapse? The Knights of Malta are not just relics of the past. They are living history, an ancient order still operating in the modern world. A bridge between medieval tradition and contemporary global influence. A reminder that history never truly disappears, it simply evolves. And perhaps the most intriguing truth of all is this: the greatest powers are not always the loudest, but often the ones working silently, patiently, and persistently across centuries. If you enjoy exploring hidden history, mysterious organizations, and the stories most people never hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There are countless secrets still waiting to be uncovered, and this was only one of them.